trying to say.
Doesn't take long. All right, I think we're ready. Sorry again about my voice. Eric Soderholm, former Chicago White Sox, sitting right next to me in the car. We're in Lamont, Illinois. You just wrapped up 18 holes of golf for the Brent Sopel tournament.
This is the first time I've ever done an interview in a car with microphones all set up, man.
This will be the only time, so let's be clear about that. A former Southside hitman sitting next to me.
Wow, you're bringing back a lot of years ago. I go to golf outings now, and the young kids look at, when did you play? It's like it's humbling, but I get it, man. I'm old now.
But in the late 70s, that was peak you, right? Like 1977, 1978.
Yeah,
you were unstoppable.
We had an interesting team that Bill Beck put together. It was a bunch of misfits. I came from the Twins. I had a bad knee. Richie Zisk came from the Pirates, and Oscar Gamble from I can't remember where he was from, but somehow we gelled, and we set a record that year for the most home runs hit by a single team. Since got broken a lot, but back then that was I don't even remember the number. I think 192 or something like that. It was just a year that nobody expected us to be any good, and then when all of a sudden the underdog is good, we had a 5-game lead in August, and we were putting 30, 40, 50,000 people in the stands almost nightly. It was a magical season, and while we did not win that year, the last month of the season, I think we were 15-15, so we didn't collapse. It's just that Kansas City, Hal McRae and George Brett and those guys, they just got really hot. I think they went like 23-7 the last month of the season, so they went by us like we were standing still. Irregardless, it was a magical season, though.
And for you, I mean, yes, for Chicago, for the Sox, for the team, yes. But for you, I mean, comeback player of the year in '77.
It was great for me because, I mean, the doctors had said I really have less than a 50-50 chance of ever playing again after hurting my knee real bad. And I had worked out with Nautilus. They were a new company coming on the scene, and Dick Butkus and myself were contacted, and they wanted to rehab both of us, and they said, look, we'll rehab you for free if we can use the filming of the rehab and use it as a promotional thing to help put Nautilus on the map. And it worked out great for both of us. It didn't cost me anything, and they ended up putting Nautilus on the map.
You were an influencer before that existed.
Well, it's I think when you leave this world, they're not going to remember how much money you had in your bank account or what kind of car you drove or whatever, but they're going to remember if you were able to inspire people. Mm-hmm. And I'd like to leave knowing that I helped inspire a few people, whether it be staying in shape, or working out, or getting your own act together spiritually, not religious, but just feeling good about who you are, because I just have learned over the years that it's so important to feel good about who you are and be authentic. That's critical. And listen, I can't give love if I don't have it for myself, right? How do you give something that you don't have? So the whole process of this thing called life is about learning how to love yourself and feel good about yourself and inspire people, and I've done that, and I feel really good about it.
Talk about what you're doing in your retirement years.
Well, my daughter got me involved with this healing arts concept of using different modalities to help people heal, and she went to work for a guy named Deepak Chopra 20-some years ago, and I remember she calling me and saying, Dad, I'm working for Deepak Chopra, and I said, who's that? I didn't even know. And but that was the start of my spiritual journey, because the next day on Channel 11, he was doing a PBS special, and he was, talking about his new books and his tape series, and so I bought a book and tape series, and that got me on my journey. I started listening. I didn't understand it all early on. I do now, but I mean, back then, he had that deep Indian accent, so It was really kind of hard to understand him, but there was something he was saying that was resonating with me, and so I really liked what he was talking about, and so I got into it. And once you get into it, your life starts to change very quickly, especially if you start living by some of the principles that he was teaching and talking about. So I went from Deepak Chopra to Wayne Dyer to Caroline Myss to Marianne Williamson, A Course in Miracles, and then The Way of Mastery. And I was just an insatiable reader for 3 years probably. And then finally one day I just woke up and said, you know what? The seeking, I guess you always can seek, but eventually the seeking's got to stop and the being's got to become. You know, you got to be this stuff. You can't just talk about it from the mouth. You got to just really become that. And I did. And so my life changed completely. I went from this ego-driven maniac baseball player in the past that that everybody kind of idolized. Said, oh, Eric, to this guy that just understands that we're all connected and it's about helping people to heal themselves. And so we opened up this place called Soderholm, and we did what Deepak Chopra was doing out in San Diego. We started doing it here. We started in the shopping center, and it just kept growing and growing and growing. And then eventually I bought some land and built a beautiful A-frame on it. And so it's now become a very, very popular healing center. And we do things like teach people yoga, teach people how to meditate, how to relieve stress. We have all kinds of different modalities like acupuncture, craniosacral therapy, just on and on and on with different modalities that people can use to help them feel better about themselves.
I would imagine that being a professional ball player, that schedule, when you're in season, it's unforgiving. I mean, you don't have time to catch your breath, do you?
It's a long season. If I was in charge of changing things or making changes, I would certainly not start the season until May 1st. Forget about April. Nobody goes to baseball in April. And then end the season September 1st, no matter how many games you can get in. And then play the playoffs through September. And then, then it's time for football. But the season's just way too long, and the owners are not going to cut it back because it's big-time finance, big money now, I have to snicker because back in the 70s, the minimum salary was like $14,000. Now, if you get called up to the big leagues, it's $540-some thousand just to get called up and sit on the bench. It's $500,000, so it's quite different from the old days, but yet it opened up a lot of doors for me. And even though I didn't make a ton of money in my 9-year career, it did open up a lot of doors for me in the business world, and I was able to become very successful in the baseball camp business and the hitting schools. And I got into the ticket business, and I started a company called Front Row Tickets, and that grew into a multi-million-dollar business. And and then I finally just got tired of ripping people off. I was starting to get on a spiritual path and felt very uncomfortable charging people $200 for a Cub ticket, telling them that I paid $175 and really I paid $85. So it was like I got tired of lying. And once you get on that spiritual path, you realize how important it is to be truthful. And I just had to get away from it. And so I ended up selling Front Row. StubHub came on the scene anyway, and we were not doing well. We were starting to fade, and so it was perfect timing for me to get into something else. And so my daughter and I started this place called Soderholm, and I figured if Walt Disney could call his place Disney World, I could call my place Soderholm. And so it's been around now quite a few years, and people are loving it, and they're coming in droves, and sometimes just did a 6-page special on us, and we were on WGN with Anna Bellavari, I think her name is, and they were doing live clips at the Soderholm. So the publicity that we have been getting lately has been phenomenal, and our growth is we're really growing now. The place wasn't created to make money because I already had that. I already had a business like that. I wanted to create a place where I could create a beautiful, safe place where people could come and work on themselves and have all the great healing modalities, healing modalities and stuff in the center, like a one-stop shopping for spirituality. And I think we've accomplished that. And there's a lot of people coming now, so I'm actually, quite honestly, I'm more proud of creating that place than I was in playing 9 years in the big leagues.
That's interesting to me.
Because you come to the park and you watch us play, And yeah, you can get involved in that winning energy. Everybody wants to feel what it feels like to win. I get that. But at Soderholm, it's more than that. It's really about going within yourself. I mean, and I'm not a religious guy, but even Jesus said the kingdom of heaven is within you. So we teach people how to go within and find that peace that's within all of us. It's all there. And we're the ones that are responsible for creating that in our lives. When I finally learned that there's not a God up there that's going, man, I really like that Eric Soderholm guy, so I'm going to make his life fabulous. But I don't like that person because, I'm going to make his life suck. Once you get that's not really the case, and there's really nothing to fear, you're really just a spiritual being using a physical body to experience this thing we call life. And it goes on for eternity. So once you get that and you realize you create your own reality and you don't have to play the game with any fear, man, does your life get good. Your life gets really good then when you get that.
And I respect everything you're saying. But seriously, cranking one out of Comiskey Park, it's got to feel kind of awesome, right?
Well, it does. There's no question. When you have 30,000 people cheering for you when you did something good, I don't know if it gets much better than that. But I will tell you this. Feeling connected to source energy every day and feeling that peace every day, that's special also.
I love it. What a fascinating career. What a fascinating guy. Thank you for doing this.
Oh, it's my pleasure.
Thank you for watching on Facebook Live.